Hey everybody, Ronaldo here. Today I want to talk to you about medications, what you should have pretty much access at all times. Now I do have freshwater, brackish, and saltwater tanks, so I have to have a little bit of everything that I know will work. This has been my experience, this is what works for me, and it saved my butt a few times. So I kind of want to go over the list of everything and why you should have it. First of all, let's really talk about disease, especially now with this whole COVID-19 coronavirus thing going on. Everybody's stocking up at the pet stores at this point. The fear is that if there is a permanent shutdown, that everything's going to be closed except grocery stores. And you can't really pick this kind of stuff up at grocery stores. Pet stores are retail, so they will be closed down for the most part, if it gets to that. But even if it doesn't get to that, nobody ever says, oh man, my fish got sick at such a convenient time. It's always the worst time. It's always when all the stores are closed. So it's better to have this stuff ready to go. So let's kind of go with some of the basics and then kind of go on from there. First of all, big thanks to Aquarium Co-op for the suggestion. Aquarium recommends to always have Maricin. Now, Maricin originally was recommended to get rid of some of the cyanobacteria. You don't want to use too much of this for cyanobacteria, though, because the cyano will build a resistance to it. At least that's the issue that I had. But this is great because it does give you relief from body fungus, gill disease, and popeye. Really easy to use, and it doesn't throw your filter off for the long run. So Maricin should definitely be on your kit. Now there's different kinds of body fungus. There's different kinds of bacteria that can infect a fish. So one thing may not work. And because of that, especially with my bettas, I've got these guys right here. Seachem, how exactly do you say it? But Seachem makes some incredible stuff, right? And the two that everybody knows about is Metroplex and Canaplex. Now, directly in the box, this is Canaplex treats fungal and bacteria fish diseases. Well, like what exactly? I mean, that's what Maricin does too. But just like for humans, we have penicillin, you have Bactrim, you have amoxicillin, you've got Z-Paks, you've got different kind of antibiotics for different types of bacteria. So you kind of have to do a little bit of research and figure out what your fish have. Now, in the case of Canaplex, it helps with dropsy. It does help with the fin and tail rot, or even septicemia. The Metroplex works with hexamida, with ick, and cryptocaryon. And this, of course, can be used for marine or saltwater. Now, here's the problem, though, is that you really don't just want to drop this in the tank. This, I don't want to say it can wreak havoc, but it's not going to be as effective. You need to bind it to the food. And for that, you get Focus. And Focus, basically, you mix this, like let's say, for example, your Metroplex, your Focus, you mix it as directed with a little bit of food, let it sit there, and you're good. Now, what I did for my bettas, because my guy over here had a bacterial infection, he was getting swollen, I was worried he was going to get dropsy, and this helped for a bit, but I took their food, melted it down, mixed it, froze it back up, and that's worked really well. Especially because the cories and the other fish don't eat that medicine, only the betta does, or that food, only the betta does. So I was able to give him exactly what he did. Now, a little bit melted or whatnot, got in the tank, it's not a big deal. Really, if the other fish ate it, not as big of a deal, but I don't want to give them antibiotics if they don't need it. So this is definitely something that you have to have. Speaking of Seachem, let's go with the number one, in my opinion, and that is Paragard. Paragard is incredible. I don't want to say it's a cure-all, but it should be the very first thing that you try. It takes care of bacterial infections. It takes care of ick, and even outside lesions, right? So let's say your fish got hurt or something, this helps. And while this can stress your tank out if you don't follow it properly, it's worked wonders. It hasn't killed, as some people say that, it can be harmful to snails doing a lot of antibiotics. This hasn't hurt my snails. This is either my Nerites or my regular mystery snails. I'll talk a little bit about ick, the issue that I had with it, and what I used last. So let's go back to the Paragard in a minute. But honestly, that should be the very first thing. Whether you have freshwater or saltwater, Paragard is absolutely incredible. It is a safer alternative to formalin. So if you guys are familiar with formalin, I'll do a video on that later on dips and everything. But formalin is, if you do it wrong, you can really stress out your fish. This is safer, and it's honestly a lot easier to use. So now, not to be confused, because this is a blue liquid, not to be confused with methylene blue. This does not go in your tank. You will stain the living heck out of everything. Your plants, your decor, this stuff is basically a dye. This should be a dip. You should have methylene blue, but this is a dip. Now, the only time that I use methylene blue as an overall tank treatment for the water is if, for example, when my quarries laid eggs, carefully scraped off the eggs, I put them in a separate tank, dipped some methylene blue, and kept from fungus attacking the eggs, which you know is very common, especially with corydoras. Methylene blue, you need to have this. Have it handy. But let's save this for the discussion on dips. And the last thing that I want to talk about, I'm actually going to wait for last, or second to the last here. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, this is for marine, saltwater, but I've had really good success with freshwater, and I'll tell you in a second. Dr. G's anti-parasitic caviar. This saved my fish from dying of ick. It actually saved the entire tank. This stuff is incredible. It needs to be refrigerated. Now, if you're in a saltwater tank, you don't want your coral eating this. So what I do is I pretty much just spot feed my fish. Luckily, they're smart enough, they know. But they chase Julian's thing every time I use it, or my little spot feeder. But you don't want this getting to the coral. It does treat, it actually tells you back here, it treats ick, Brooklynella, Urinema, crypto, and a lot of parasites. This is not really for bacterial infection as it is for parasites. And that's why I coupled it with Paragard to combat ick. Now again, these both work in freshwater and saltwater. Now if you know that if you have an ick outbreak in saltwater, you need a quarantine right away. That tank needs to run fallow because you don't want to run, for example, copper with coral. It'll just wreak havoc on your coral. Honestly, I don't like even stressing my fish out with copper either. So I did everything that I can. I've been successful and not so successful. Saltwater to me is a lot harder to treat ick unless you completely separate the fish. But my freshwater, I had a lot of good success with this combination. So Dexter's tank. Dexter is my beautiful red crown-tailed betta, and he lives with a whole bunch of neon tetras. Well, after I bought the tetras, the fish store we got them from said, we had an ick outbreak and we think your fish had it. Sure enough, I look in there and I just see the whole tank is blown up with ick. Luckily, Dexter didn't get it, and neither did a corydoras. At least the outside parasite, right, where it shows up as the white spots. It doesn't mean that something's not going on internally. So what I did is, I fed them every day. This was for about 2 weeks. I fed them Dr. G's, the anti-parasitic caviar, and I put Paragard. I actually underdosed because I wanted to do it once or twice a day. So the direction says to use 1 capful for every 10 gallons. In a 20-gallon tank, I should use 2 capfuls. I actually did about 2 milliliters, and I kept the media in my filter. This is technically not going to wipe out your filter, but it is going to kill a lot of bacteria. Technically, any of these things can. That's why, first of all, you don't want to have carbon because carbon will neutralize the antibiotic, but it can wipe out your bacteria, so you got to be careful. So what I did to be safe is I actually took the filter, I put it, or cut it in half, I put that in a just container to make sure at least the bacteria, you know, the filter itself stays cycled. I fed it daily, so I basically fed my filter. Turns out I really didn't need to do that because by using this, it helped my tank. It never crashed the tank. What is this? This is stability. Now, you know cecum stability is used to prevent new tank syndrome. Well, this is an established tank, so why would I need this? Well, because I'm basically killing off all the parasites and bacteria that may be in there. And just like when you're taking an antibiotic for yourself, right? Let's say you take an antibiotic, you know that when you take an antibiotic, you're basically going to your pants. Why? Because you're killing bad bacteria, but you're also killing the good bacteria in your stomach. Well, that's kind of what's going on in a tank. If we pretend a tank is just the human body, right? That filter, when you crash that filter, you crash your whole tank. You're giving your tank aquarium diarrhea, I guess is what we want to call it. And this is your probiotic. This is yogurt, all right? So follow directions on this. Dosed it exactly as it said. No issues with my tank. The only issue is that there is a little bit of an algae outbreak. No big deal. It's just, you know, cleaning it daily and it'll be fine. But I think there's another couple circumstances as to what's going on with the algae, which I'll talk about in a video later on. So let's recap real quick. Again, if you have betta fish, you definitely need Canaplex and Metroplex and Focus. In reality, you should have it anyways. But if you have bettas, this is a must. You know the bettas are very prone to dropsy, so have that ready to go. Medicine, fantastic. When all else fails, medicine helps. Now you can get a general penicillin type medicine for fish as well, which I didn't talk about because the medicine, the Metroplex, Kinoplex, and Paragard, in my opinion, are usually a little bit more reliable and they're less likely to crash your tank than just going outright pure antibiotic like that. Methylene blue should be used as a dip. We'll do a video dip on that later, but have that handy anyways because you never know when everything just goes to heck and back in your tank. A quick dip will help. Dr. G's, and I'll put all the descriptions of this below. Dr. G's anti-parasitic caviar, even if you have fresh water, this stuff is incredible. And the number one is Seachem's Paragard. I cannot say enough good thing about it. And again, freshwater, brackish, saltwater, this is good stuff. And all this will cause damage to your tank if you don't keep it stabilized. So for that, you want to do stability. Now, there's other great products out there, which I didn't talk about. I'm a big fan of Seachem. They were actually at one of the frag swaps over here in Lakeland, which is not that far from me. And I had a chance to talk to them for a bit. And I really wish that they would start pushing more for the saltwater because in the freshwater world, you guys know Seachem's incredible. Saltwater, I don't see as many people talking about Seachem, and they just make great products, good customer service, and the people there are so passionate with the products. And I promise you they're not paying me to talk about it. It's just getting a chance to talk to just one of the representatives there, you can really tell they love their products and what they do. So yeah, that is part of my pharmacy that I have, but for the most part, this is what really helps. Now, of course, I also have dips for my coral, such as the Seachem, the Reef RX, but I want to do a video on dips later on. This is just medicine to dose straight into the tank. The only exception is methylene blue. I just wanted to mention, you need to have this. But as far as the blue medication, Paragard. So anyways, I hope that helps. If you have any questions, comments, if I said something that you disagree with, leave them down below. The amazing thing about this hobby is there's multiple ways of doing things. You'll always hear even experienced people asking questions because you never know whose perspective that might be different than yours. May work better, may work differently, may work worse, you don't know. But anyways, I hope the video helped. Make sure you like, subscribe, click the thumbs up, and again, please leave a comment below. Have a great night and God bless.